Appreciate every single one of you. By the way, just to get the mood a little bit, I saw this video. I wanted to play it. It has really been on my mind, so I'm going to play it. Yeah, just ooh. This man has been on my FYP for like a week. Another one, just one more. The man's got moves, you know. Anyways, I'm having a good day today. I'm having a wonderful night, and yeah, yeah, I'm having a good day. Anyways, let's get back to business today. Um, so what we're going to do today is that we're going to talk about storytelling in comic books. Just briefly, nothing too serious because like the book we're studying isn't necessarily the most detailed book ever. So we're going to study, just going to look briefly at what he's talking about and see how we can add to our already existing knowledge. And yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. That's what we're going to be doing. And yeah, and I'm going to do a bit of perspective study. A bit of perspective study. I'm going to do that. Yeah, so without further ado, let's get to it. So I glanced through like the book. I'll get my pen. Yeah, so I glanced through the book, and the first thing he talked about was uh, essentially the point of storytelling in comics, right? When you're doing storytelling in comics, the first thing usually you're trying to look for is clarity. You're trying to make the paneling that you're looking at like move from left to right or right to left, depending your reading style or reading orientation, like if you're Japanese versus Western. um Having it clear and concise when you are drawing, like making things look simple but at the same time, making it look good at the same time, simple but also look good at the same time. So that involves your paneling, that involves your proportion, and that also involves your perspective. These three things are very vital whenever you're telling a story in comic books, whenever you're using the comic book medium to tell a story, or sequential art in general. So that is very important, and that's basically the gist of this chapter. So what he did here is that he just sort of like used this really nice page to sort of explain that point. Yeah, you can read it for yourself on your own time. And then in regards to perspective, yeah, he talked about how studying and understanding perspective is very vital to storytelling. Is very important because whenever you are drawing a scene, or whenever you are illustrating a scene or trying to tell what's happening in a scene, in order for that message, or like the message of the scene, to be passed on and for it to be seamless, so that the reader doesn't have to struggle. Like one of the most frustrating things as a reader is when you are reading something and instead of focusing on the story, you are focusing on, yo, he didn't draw that arm well, or that arm looks too small, or that arm looks too big, or that building is not really matching the perspective that the character is in. So little things like that can be a bit frustrating whenever you are studying a character, or like say studying a character, whenever you're reading a story. So of course perspective very important. And then I'm just going to quickly talk, not break down. I'm going to study because I've never actually studied, well, not that I've never actually studied perspective. I did study perspective when I was in secondary school. And when my arts teacher, he was talking about 1 point and 2 point perspective. I think those were the two main perspectives. Maybe he talked about 3 point perspective, but I didn't pay attention. But the perspective that I practiced a lot with during that time was 1 point perspective. And I remember myself a lot that time when I did it. I even did a cover page like for my exercise book, like for my notebook, for some of my notebooks rather. I did a cover page where I had like where I constantly drew like a road. I constantly drew a road because that was like practically all I all I could draw at the time with perspective. I'm not saying I'm better now with perspective, but you know, like I'm not saying I'm a lot better. I'm just saying like this is the information that has carried me a lot. So we have this pose. This was how I practiced perspective when I was younger. We have this pose like this that transfer electricity um, across, you know, across the state or across the town. And then those poles would have like wires like this. I remember drawing this a lot. I always enjoyed it. I always like during classes and when like a teacher was teaching and maybe it was boring and I wasn't paying attention, I'll just be sketching this. And yeah, it was really fun. I really liked it. So and most times this pose could be replaced with trees. I did that a lot. And then of course the tracks on the road, of course, very important. Hello Amy, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. I'm having a great weekend, by the way. I'm having a great weekend. And then what I'd do is that I'd then add like what do they call them? I'd add like trees and flowers around. Yeah. I'd add trees and flowers around. And then in most cases I would add like sunset. Or I could just put it up here like that. Yeah. And I remember doing this. This is actually fun. Yeah, or like you could also do something like you could do like maybe the road, of course. You could do something about the road. Let's say something like this. And let's say do like probably you're driving up a hill or something. That's also another way to look at it, something fun like that. uh and then you could even do something like this, of course. So very fun stuff. And we have like mountain and stuff, and we have our road. And this is what our perspective usually. Hello King, how you doing, man? This is what perspective can allow you to do. But I only know like 1 point perspective, but hopefully I'm going to practice and we'll get better. Thank you so much, King, for liking the video. I appreciate it. Everyone else, please, if you are just joining the video, please just help me out and just smash the like button. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you, King, and thank you, Amy, for joining. Yeah, so this is kind of what perspective can help you to do. And if you like, there's a friend of mine. I'm going to show you some of his works. His name is Dex, and he's really good at perspective. He's really good at landscapes, and he's really good at using um perspective for his landscapes. Let me show you some of his work. Um, Dex Art. Yeah, he's so good at using perspective for his work. Like, look at this. Like, look at this. His work is amazing. Like, you can see like what is possible when you use like a perspective. You are able to achieve something like this. This is another really good use of perspective. This is another really good use of perspective. You can see how you can draw like a reference, and you can even be cute and creative with how you use your references, because you understand proportion, right? You understand scaling, and then you also understand perspective. Yeah, very important. I'm just trying to look for the images, not necessarily because every platform these days has turned into like uh a platform for like videos, basically. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, he's really good. Dex is really good. You can check him out. You'll really be inspired by his art. Uh, so this is another artwork. This is sort of like similar to what I was just talking about here. Like if you understand perspective, you could be able to not just draw something, like you could be able to execute something like this and be really creative with your perspective. Um, he has done a lot. He has done a lot. This is another one. This is another really nice one because he understands perspective. He's able to properly, draw. Of course, references, of course, are important and references are good, but you still have to be able to, practically execute what you're seeing. So that is one thing that perspective does. He's really specialized with this stuff. It's just so good. It's just so good. Anyways, that's the three things that I wanted to talk about: perspective, uh, perspective. What else? Scaling or proportion, and what was the other thing I was talking about? Perspective, proportion, and one more thing. There's one more thing I was talking about. Crazy man, memory. Let's see. Perspective, proportion, and paneling. Was that the third one? Paneling. Yeah. Anyways, regardless, you still need to understand this and practice it. So, if you're practicing this stuff, you need grid lines. Grid lines are very important. Sometimes, whenever I am stuck with regards to grid lines, I would just go online, right? Or I'll go to Pinterest. I said Pinterest. Site like and just search perspective grids. I'll just search for perspective grids and I'll just use them. Yeah, so grids like this, I'll pick grids like this and I'll use them to, draw. I'll pick a grid like this and use it as a reference for like 2 point perspective. This is 2 point perspective. Hello, Crisp. Chris Perez. I thought it was Crisp. Chris Chris Perez. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining. What I'm doing is that I am trying to on study storytelling in comics, like using sequential art. And essentially, what I'm doing is that I'm studying a book. So I'm looking at this book. The name of this book is Drawing Heroic Characters, Brutes and Babes. And I'm using this book as a reference to study. I'm basically studying. So I'm explaining what I'm understanding from the study I'm doing. And the first thing we're talking about with regards to creating a good um, panel or be better at storytelling. Hello, Samuel. Thanks for joining. A way to be better at storytelling is to understand proportion, understand perspective, and also understand your panel layout. What sounds familiar? Exactly, Perez. Um, you said it sounds familiar. What sounds familiar? Yeah. So, you mean the book? You mean the book? Yeah, it probably is. It probably is. It probably is the book. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It probably is. The book is. I don't want to say it's quite popular, but it's moderately popular. I didn't know about the book. Yeah, but you can check it out. It's by Bart Sears. So the name of the book is on the thumbnail of the video, so you can always check that out. Yeah. So, anyways, what I'm doing with regards to that is that I'm trying to do like a study, and I'm trying to do a breakdown of what he's talking about. So over here, I just drew like my own understanding or interpretation of 1 point perspective. Because 1 point perspective, you just have one horizon line, one horizon line. Well, with regards to 2 point perspective, you have like two horizon lines. I hope I'm right with that. So I'm just going to try and copy like these grid lines that he has here. Um, so we have this, and also like the location of the horizon line is also very important. Um, like if we have two people standing here like this, if these are people standing, somebody is standing, or like the height, right? And let's say we have another person that is floating up like this, and then we have, let's say this is our ground. Let's use this as our ground. Yeah, this is our ground, and this guy is standing here. This other guy is standing up here, and there's another guy standing up here, like this, that is levitating. He's flying. Let's give him a cape. And then there's another person standing up here, like this. They are both standing in the same, not necessarily the same location. This one is behind, but he's levitating. But this is our ground. Yeah. the way he sees, let's say we have like a hut, a group of huts over here, a group of buildings over here, like this, a group of buildings, or like city, whatever. You know what? I'm going to make this guy smaller. Yeah, let's put it like this. Yeah, let's say we have a cityscape over here like this. Yeah, they're about to enter a city. They're about to enter Ba Sing Se, or the land of Omashu. Based on their eye line, right, their perspective is going to be different, even though it's 1 point perspective, right? Let's say they are looking straight ahead. Let's say this guy, his perspective could be um something like this, where his eye line is like this. He's looking like this. Yeah, so we have our vanishing point here. Hopefully I don't butcher this and talk trash. Yeah, so it's like this. We have something like this, and then he's standing, and because of his like where he's looking, his vanishing point is going to be different. Now if like where he's like, the way we perceive him rather is going to be different from this guy as well, and it's also going to be different from this guy, because if we are looking at this guy's perspective, this guy up here is going to be different from this guy over here. So this guy over here, let me show you, let me try and illustrate based on the little I understand. It's going to be a bit more similar to what is done here. So we're going to have our vanishing horizon line, our horizon line, and then we're going to, it's going to go down like this. We're going to go down like this, and we'll be seeing our villages or huts like this, something like that. And then we'll be seeing our guy levitating in the air like this. Let me put him in red. Like pain, Chibak Tensei, the world shall know pain. Yeah, and because it's floating here, our guys, yeah, this guy over here is going to be somewhere like down here, and he's going to be tiny. And that is sort of what perspective can do. I need to charge my phone. Bye. Yeah, bye, Perez, man. Thanks for joining. Yeah, so we're going to see, because of perspective and proportion, we know that this guy is closer to us than this guy, which is this guy over here, which is this guy over here, right? And they're all looking at this building over here, this huts or whatever. And because this guy is floating in the air, this is sort of like if we were like the cameraman, because like they say, the cameraman is undefeated. This is sort of how we're going to be seeing him, and the buildings of course are going to probably be a lot smaller than what I've drawn it here. And yeah, that's the power of perspective. There's just so much that you can do with it. I haven't even scratched the surface, because to be fair, I don't know a lot about perspective. I know barely nothing about perspective. So yeah, that's the thing about like 1 point perspective. You A lot of the times I could be confused, so I use grid. I could go online and just get like a grid based on like the scene that I'm drawing, the horizon lines and things like that. So that's it. It's sort of like what he used to draw like this scene, and it looks so simple, but it's not. This takes Doing something like this takes real skill, and to get all these like screens that he has to his side here, all these screens and monitors correctly, while still getting the proportion of like the robots behind, and all these things, all these little details. It's very important. It's very important. That's why they call it part of the art. It's part of the art's fundamentals. It's just as important as anatomy, and it's just as important as values and composition as well. So It's something I'm going to be, spending more time with these days. Yeah, so based on like in terms of like storytelling, for instance, and explaining a scene, he gave an example. Hello, Jenny, how you doing? He gave an example with this guy over here that is flying, right? If you look at this guy, this illustration of this guy over here, he's just flying like without a care in the world. And you know, if that is what the story is supposed to tell, then that's fine, right? But if the character is supposed to be flying with intensity, you would need to show that intensity with the background, and that is sort of like hello Jenny, you said in, or did you mean to say hi? um yeah, so if the character is flying with intensity, he's like the backgrounds, we're going to, because we're focusing on the character, like when Flash is running, like scenes of where Flash is running, the backgrounds are going to be a bit blurry in comparison to the character himself, because we're focusing on the character. So if that's what you are going for, and then you go for something like this, it doesn't show any sort of urgency, and usually they're supposed to be like speed lines. um uh Jenny said Jesus is king. Yeah, yeah, Jesus is king, no one's arguing that. Yeah, so then, yeah, so like with the character, for instance, now it's just sort of the same thing, because I saw this stuff, like it's really fun. I saw it with I saw it with like punches. Like if you're drawing a character, making a punch, right? If you're judging, looking at a character making a punch, something like this. Yeah, so this character is making a punch. If you just draw this hand like this, there's nothing wrong with it. But like if this character is supposed to be making a punch, it doesn't show any movement. It shows like the hand is just at a standstill. That is sort of like what he's trying to speak about here. Um, so the best thing to show like movement usually would be to put a hatching line. I don't think this is the best sort of pen or brush for it. Is to sort of put like a hatching line, or like speed lines as they call it, speed or motion lines, something like this. It's going to illustrate that the hand is moving at speed, and there's going to be definitely going to be like broken lines here and there, because there is speed. Now if you look at those pictures of athletes moving, a lot of the times you don't see their full body in motion. um you see sort of like their uh you see a lot of blurry lines, is what I'm trying to say. You see a lot of blurry lines, except for like all these really high end um cameras that can really capture a person moving. Bro, you're good at drawing. Thank you, Jenny, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, so that is very important to note. That's just one thing to note. Another thing to note is proportion. Like then he gave an example with these two, this man and this horse. Yeah, this tired looking horse, and then this one. At first I didn't like really understand it. To be fair, I don't think, in my own judgment, probably because I don't know, but maybe I might understand later on. But at the moment, I don't think that this was the best illustration for what he was trying to talk about. uh Also, context matters. So he said that, like, if you look at the, because horses are quite big, they're quite big animals, they're beastly. Like, if you see them on TV and stuff, they just look normal, like, but if you actually go next to them and you climb one, you can see how high up. That's why, like, there are people that actually suffer. Whenever someone falls from a horse, it's a real big problem, and most people need invasive surgeries because of that. But anyways, if you compare this horse to this horse and the guy, you see that the horse is quite small in this illustration B, in comparison to illustration A, where the horse is quite big, and it's sort of like makes the illustration look a lot better. So that's why understanding proportion is important. So that it's just like if you draw someone and there is no context for it, Yeah, sort of like if you're drawing somebody's anatomy and you draw someone like this, you draw someone like this, you draw someone like this, and then you draw their hands, right? You draw their hands, yeah? It would look weird if you were to take this person, and let's say this person is supposed to be an adult, and you make his head as big as this. Yeah, that is not normal unless this guy is supposed to be like a character or like a unique character, or like there is context for this in the story, right? If you're drawing everybody's head normal and in a scene you actually drew his head normally, yeah, like this, and then all of a sudden you then made his head this big, it doesn't make sense. So that's why it's really good, usually good to sort of understand proportion and scaling. Also, it goes the same way for like maybe his legs, for instance. If you make his legs too big than normal and you don't provide that's actually, that looks really funny. If and you don't provide Ew, this legs is actually funny. And you don't provide like context. I don't provide context to um I don't provide context to like what you're drawing. So yeah, it's very important. Proportion is very important. Scaling is very important. Perspective is very important. In fact, I'm going to do a perspective study because I think I copied or downloaded a page. The next thing is paneling. You need to understand paneling, and then he gives some tips with regards to paneling. He said, like the first tip, he said it's important to know that whenever you are doing a panel, right? Usually he's saying, and the thing about instructions, right? A lot of the time, it is important to follow them, especially if you trust the person that you're taking the instructions from. But at the same time, there can be context with regards to what you're drawing, right? You don't necessarily, there are times when it can be okay and all right to bend the instructions or to bend the rules that the artist or like whoever is the person instructing you on a particular thing gives you. So it's very important. Yeah, so what he's saying here with regards to this, because he's giving bad examples and he's giving good examples, that's why I like instruction books like this. So he said usually it's not good to sort of like draw the characters like at the center, because me, I don't know why, but personally I don't see anything wrong with drawing the character here. But I get the message that he's trying to pass here. Like what he's trying to say is that if you are drawing something that is going to be important in a scene, it is important to sort of understand the rule of thirds, which goes back to composition, which is another art fundamental, right? So you divide your scene into thirds, and you see this a lot with your camera, um, where you can sort of like pick an area to focus on. So you pick one of these areas in the story and actually put something important there. So like let's say you're drawing, right? A superhero that is looking over a city. Yeah, let's say what's popular these days. Let's say Omni Man, for instance. And yeah, let's say this is like an island. Yeah, an island by the coast, and we have all these cities here and there. And we have all these cities. We have all these cities, and then um, one important thing you can do with that is you can then draw your superhero or character or whatever. If you want to show him levitating, you can then draw him at this point, sort of levitating. Yeah. And what this will do is that it will direct the reader's eye a bit more. It will it will it will direct the user's eye a bit more. So when we have this area, like I said, all these points are very important. All these points are very important. So if you are drawing something important, Let's say even if you want to put like a spaceship, for instance, you can put a spaceship or plane, right? Or what do they call that? Air balloon. Yes, an air balloon. You can put an air balloon in this area like this, like just flying over, and then you can put something else around this area as well, and something else around this area. So all these things are very important whenever you're drawing. Understanding rule of thoughts. The next thing he talked about is that it's not good to sort of like cut off the corner, like whenever you're drawing something. um I honestly couldn't like compute what that meant necessarily. uh I guess he probably meant like if you are cutting off something in a scene, right? You shouldn't necessarily cut it off at a corner. Like you should sort of like complete it, I'm guessing. I don't understand completely what he's saying, so um I'm not going to like sort of speculate. But what I understand is this arm, like when you're drawing a scene, it is good to sort of like don't cut off the arm, like of like because it's quite important. It looks kind of weird if you cut off the arm of a character on a panel. And if you like cut off their legs, a lot of the times it can look weird. So ideally it's better to draw the character in full and allow the background or the scene to breathe. Yeah. Or like something similar to this what he did here. So what he's trying to say is that most of the time, if you approach drawing a character, let's say you're drawing a fight scene or drawing a scene in general, and for whatever reason you feel like this hand should be chopped off, maybe because probably you don't have you're not skilled with drawing the hands or drawing the legs or whatever. um you just need to draw the character in full in that panel. Draw the character in full in that panel. So like this guy over here that is levitating or like moving, whatever he's doing. So it'll be better to do something like this. Sorry about that. To draw this, and then um, sort of draw him levitating here like this, and then draw like people looking at him, just like with this scene here. And then you allow the scene, of course, to breathe. Then you can draw things around. Every scene doesn't always have to be jam-packed with things. All right. Those are the main things. So what I'm going to do next is next day I think we'll look at this. I don't know. I don't know yet. I don't know yet. But we might check this out. We might check out thumbnails and see what he's saying later on. But one thing I want to look at is perspective. I saw some uh, perspective approaches, and I kind of want to like do a practice on them. Sort of. So over here we have 1 point perspective, which is really fun. And there's this breakdown. I'm looking at this site called thevirtualinstructor.com. And I think I'm going to practice some of the things that he's doing here. And maybe just do a drawing like this, just because I can. So we're going to probably do 1 point perspective for interiors, 1 point perspective for landscape, 1 point perspective for what else? Cityscape. But we'll get the most important things, which are the horizon line and the vanishing points. That needs to be understood because, like he said here, understanding the horizon line helps the artist make an informed decision on where the vanishing point or points should be. A drawing or painting can be created without a horizon line, but it is good practice to include one even though it may not be visible in the finished work. Hello, Irene. How you doing? Hope you're having a good day. Welcome to the stream. Why is everybody typing them when they come on stream? Like, I don't understand. Is there like a joke I'm missing or something? Or can you hear me? I'm doing good. What about you? I'm doing fine. I'm doing wonderful. It's good to hear from you. It's good to see you. Well, not see you physically. Yeah, it's good to hear from you. Hope you're having a good day. Um, I wanted to ask about your exams, how you did. I don't know if the stuff has like if it has come out. All right, so I'm going to practice this 1 point perspective. All right, so it said first of all, horizon lines and vanishing points. Were you able to draw anything today, Irene? And what's the next? Oof. All right, so we're able to add this. Let me add that. Oh, look at that. Perspective, man. Perspective can be difficult. Um, all right. So the next one is going to be, how would I put it now? Drawing the perspective lines, I think will be useful to do something like that. You can use grid. You can use a grid if you are unsure of your maybe your ability. Um, if you're like me, for instance, that can have issues with perspective lines. All right, so this box over here is sort of like levitating higher. He's just trying to show scaling. For instance, like if you're drawing this stuff, if you're like drawing a skyline or something like that. So, but you have to like pick. I hope you guys are seeing what I'm doing. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's looking all right. It's looking all right. The next one is hello, Muhihihihihihihi. How you doing? Welcome to the stream. Uh, I'm doing a study of perspective, 1 point perspective. It's been the bane of my existence virtually throughout my life. I'm drawing a box. I'm drawing a box. I'm studying 2 point perspective. Hopefully, you can hear me. So I'm trying to understand vanishing points, horizon lines, and yeah, things like that. Essentially, you can't draw at all. Really, is drawing something you'll be interested in? Do you want to learn how to draw? I could show you some things here if you're interested. If you're interested in learning how to draw, no pressure. All right, so I have my bases here, and then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and illustrate this because this looks fun. Right, perspective, horizon line, horizon line. We have our vanishing point here, and then we're going to put this, guys. No, let's move that. Let's put our vanishing point here, and then we'll move this down like this, and then we'll move this guy like this, and then we'll move this guy like this, then we'll move this guy like this, and then we'll move this guy like this, and then lastly we'll move this guy like this, and then we're going to sort of use this to help us guide us on how we're going to approach this drawing. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to, let me draw it in red. Let me draw it in red. All right, so we have our trees over here. Let's put our trees over here. You need perspective grids, or you need to set your perspective by yourself. And most times, your perspective might extend outside of the scene. So that's why most of the times you need to use thumbnails. Yeah, very important. So put this like this here. I use grids a lot when I draw my comics. I use it a lot. It's a lifesaver, you know, especially when you're not Kim Jong-il's level yet. So you have to respect yourself, put your ego to the side, and just, do what is going to make the drawing process not just enjoyable, but productive and make you efficient at the same time. So that's the building. You also need to apply perspective when you're doing buildings as well, so that you can probably place the windows, the doors, and that you set up the entire infrastructure in a way that is good. 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3 4. Then one more. 1 2 3 4. Now that I look at this doesn't look so right in terms of. Yeah. So same thing over here. 1 2 3 4. I'm just doing it like a rough sketch. 1 2 3 4. Ideally, that shouldn't mean there actually. That should just be the door. 4. Then you can add one more. 1 2 3 4. Yeah, that's good. And then you can add another building here. That is wrong. There's nothing wrong with making mistakes. Just don't dwell on it. And because you feel like you want to stand your ground, don't just um don't just try and force yourself or force the drawing to fit, especially when possibly that's not how it's going to look. Yep, very important. That doesn't look right. Looks a bit skewed. But we'll carry on. All right, we have our mountains or like hills at this side like that. And we can also apply that here. Same thing with this tree. Yeah, so light as well. Light is also very important. Because art is just connected. Art is just so connected. The shadows going to be like that. That definitely means the tree is also going to have shadows like this. Yeah, so I think that's that. So, quick exercise. I mean, just like with anything, you don't need to do it once, you need to do it multiple times for you to actually get good at it. Doing perspective can be frustrating at times. It's frustrating a lot for me at least. Anyways, that's it. Yeah, that's it for 1 point perspective. And then let's see if we can do 2 point perspective. Yeah, 2 point perspective about to be really difficult. Yeah, I think I might just do a stream and just focus on perspective in general. But hopefully, I've sort of like talked on, what is important. I think I'm just going to end it now, not feeling the vibe. I'll come back tomorrow. And tomorrow, what will I do tomorrow? I'm just going to talk about. I might look at Gary Martin's book tomorrow. But either ways, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for joining. Thank you, every single person. And